welcome back to the Peilcast podcast. And today we're just doing the second episode of Save Our Club. Today we're going with a club that is loved by one of the members of the Peilcast, Dave Garvini, Drogheda United. So the plan is, if you listen to the one with Shelburne, it's basically like just what would we do, say if we had the chance, like behind the scenes of the club or on the pitch, off the pitch sort of objectives, push the club up the table, or making them maybe from the step of semi-pro to professional, blah 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 whatsoever. Kind of get the gist of it. Right, so I'm just going to go to Dave first. What do you reckon?
Yeah, how's it going? So like obviously me being a Drogheda fan, I've watched just a lot this season. I've been to most of the games, and just looking at what needs to be improved on, or maybe something that we need for next season that can kind of push us on a bit and give us a bit more stability, as we did last time with the Shells episode. Bill's going to take kind of more the behind the scenes kind of aspect of the game, the club and things like that. And I'm going to look at more on the field, and then with the obvious, things off the field as well. So for me, I started off with recruitment. So for me, recruitment is the number one if you're looking to improve a product on the pitch. And I think for us, I think Gary Deegan is one of my favourite players in the league. I absolutely love him to bits. He's absolutely fantastic. But he is 34. He'll be 35 at the end of this month. So we need to start, future-proofing the midfield. And I've cited Gavin Malloy from Shelburne as the ideal candidate to come in. Diga probably has maybe 1 year left in him, playing week in, week out. And I think having Gavin Malloy coming in, Malloy's 20 years old. He's a young prospect coming in. He's played the last 10 games with Shells, and I think he could come in, maybe play a season with Diga. He's a very good young prospect. He's played 10 games so far this season, and that's been the last 10 games. So it just shows you what I think about my Shells. He's played 10 games, as I say, scored 2 goals from holding midfield, and as well as that, he's gotten 2 yellow cards, which shows that he has a bit of a nasty streak about him, which I think Diga would love. I think he'd play off Deegan really, really well. And so the first player I'd be putting forward would be Gavin Malloy. I think he'd be an ideal candidate to come in.
Yeah, we were not talking about last week or the last episode of it. Was not Gavin Malloy got brought up a good
bit. Jack Moylan was the one that we kind of cited a bit as someone that could have been improved on, but Gavin Malloy was also mentioned as, in the midfield. He felt Shells were solid, but yeah, I think Malloy he'd be an ideal candidate to come in, and similar to what United wanted to do with David De Gea all those years ago when they brought him in. They wanted to give him a year behind Edmund van der Sar, but obviously it didn't work out. But I think that would be the ideal kind of thing to do, is to bring Malloy in, let him kind of play with Deegan for a year, learn off the man himself, and kind of grow a bit. Sure, by the time Diga leaves, then this is future proof, but this is me speculating. If he does leave at the end of next season, it kind of gives you that extra, the year of Malloy learning from Deegan. If Deegan stays on for another year, that's even better. But I think Malloy coming in at Drogheda will be a sign, and I'd certainly welcome as a fan myself.
Would he move to? He wouldn't really move to Drogheda, though, would he? Or Shelburne?
It's about selling the product. Like if Drogheda can go in there and say, obviously I think you're going to mention the issues with the ground and things like that. I think for Gavin Malloy, I think trying to get him in with us, I think the wage thing will be marginal between the two clubs. So it's just more about selling the project. And I think if you can look at it and say, if we can get the plan in place between now and the end of the season for the new stadium, which has been pitched, we obviously know there's the land, the site that's been the building site that's been cited by the club and things like that. I think Conor Howie has talked about it a few times over the last few years, about a site that he has in mind. I think if we could pitch that to him and say, look, yeah, somewhere around there. So if you could nearly kind of say, look, we have this project in place. Kevin Doherty, I think, could be a really big selling point as well. And Dara Doyle, I think they're both fantastic coaches, and they're brilliant with young players as well. I think, Dara Doyle has shown from his time at Longford, I know things didn't work out from there, but he came in to us as the assistant, and he's been brilliant in terms of getting recruitment in. Dylan Grimes came in. He's obviously had injury issues this year, but he's been fantastic when he's played. And having someone like Dara Doyle there, I think he's very good at convincing young players what we can do for them. And I think that was the same with Tim Clancy was in charge, by the way. I think Kevin Doherty is one of the best in the league at kind of taking young talents under his wing. And, you look at what he did with Jimmy Brown and Killian Phillips, who obviously went over to top-level championship and Premier League clubs at the end of last season. So I think, if they can kind of pitch it to Gavin Malloy and say, look, this is our project, this is where we see you fitting into the project, I think it could be a viable option.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
Yeah, any other positions or recruitment, or would there be anything else you want to be diving into that?
Yeah, we'll be interested to see what Bill's first point would be on how he'd improve things.
Yeah, okay. So Jack might necessarily agree with this now, but from a Cork City fan perspective, the last 2 seasons, I would say Drogheda are the most likable team in the Premier Division. They're a pathway for players abroad, so they've come the 7th last year. They're on the same this year. But they've continually brought players to the UK, and that will come in as a part of my later pitch. But they've also had the Hidden Game Park, Greenham Stadium. They offered the free tickets from the pandemic, which we've mentioned in a few episodes. So Drogheda is a club that do an awful lot of things right. Most particularly, I think, for their effects is the pathway to players that are abroad, which I'll touch on in a minute. But one thing we have to look at, and we go on about, and you've said in a few episodes, I think, with Jack, Drogheda is a small footballing town, and Dundalk are a lot bigger, so you can't compare them. Dundalk is the 8th largest urban area in Ireland, and the 3rd largest town behind, you guessed it, Drogheda and Swords. So the population of 39,000. So Drogheda actually has a population of 40,000. So in terms of actually bare population, maybe not in the footballing history sense, Drogheda should be completely equatable to Dundalk. Now, does that work in practice? I'm not sure, but first of all, I will say that Dundalk or Drogheda are the most likable team in the Premier Division. That's a fact. I don't know if Jack agree with that though.
Oh well, obviously not. But where do you get that most likable from? Anyway, in this one.
It just means we're sound. That's all.
Yeah. They're a nice bunch,
No, actually, just to come in on that point, Bill, I actually have heard several people say that, and actually, I think Cork fans as well. And I actually think it stems from back in, I think it was 2016, when Dundalk and Cork were going for the Premier Division, and it was actually between Limerick and Drogheda for the First Division. And it was almost as if this, the two clubs formed a partnership in hatred towards Limerick and Dundalk. And I think it was vice versa. I think it was Dundalk and Limerick kind of backed each other a bit back then as well. So I get what you're saying. Yeah. I think for a Cork fan, I think Drogheda is one of the clubs that you kind of associate with as not like a non-threat, but nearly like a like a friendly club, a club that you can kind of
look. I just see that Drogheda do an awful lot of things that Cork City do right, because Cork City have had several players come through the academy or from other clubs, and they've transitioned them onto England. So that I see that of Cork and Drogheda in that sense, and again that will come to my greater pitch. But if you want to name one of your next few players, then I will give you my pitch afterwards.
I'm just with that. I'm just thinking, right? I can see the whole Drogheda and Cork thing, but why would Dundalk be really bothering about the first division when Dundalk had Europe playing in 2016?
It's just the rivalry side of things. That's
was that actually a thing, by the way?
I think for me personally it was anyway. I wanted Cork in the league, and obviously Limerick were our main challengers for the First Division back then. So
didn't win it, did you?
No, Limerick fucking rolled the league that year. That was remember Martin Russell had the team, and even though they absolutely steamrolled the entire league, I think they had it wrapped up with 7 games left or something.
Oh yeah, I actually do. Yeah,
Yeah, and Martin Russell had the team, and the fans still weren't happy about it. So, like, I think they lost their first game after they had already won the league, and the fans still wanted them out. Like, it was just absolute madness. That's one of the main reasons I actually don't like Limerick football. Like, I can't stand Treaty. I don't know what it is about them. I just don't like the cut of them. It's just something about any club in Limerick I just can't get behind, because I just feel as though their fans are very like unrealistic.
To be
Like,
fair, I like Limerick. To be fair, after what they've done for us in 2008,
you weren't even born back
but I was.
What age were you, Jack?
Whenever
What age were you?
I can't even.
Yeah.
What was it called? Colin Scanlon scored the last minute equaliser. I took the power.
To be fair, now, like, I like that, because I've obviously mentioned in the past about my issues with Shells, but still, like, that was just something that was funny.
Yeah, 97th minute or something. We went up. Limerick 37.
Yeah, Limerick 37. Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, on the point of thing, I never heard anyone say Dundalk's their favourite team, unless they're from Dundalk.
No, I've heard a few foreign people say it. Like, I've heard a few British people saying it and things like that they'd be looking at Dundalk as their kind of Irish club and things like that. But I think that's just they look at
they're in Europa League.
Yeah, I think they just look at the table when they're one day and they just go, oh, I think I might pick them, and Dundalk will just top or something like that. But yeah, like, moving on to the reason we're doing this episode. So I have a second player here, who's a right back. I think right back is a position that we've struggled with a lot this season. You know, Georgie Poynton he's a fine right back, but I think he's not going to push the club on. He's not going to push the club on either. Like, he's like, I'm a big fan of Luke Heaney, who's played there a lot this season as well. He's a local lad player. He's from Bellewstown, and he's a Drogheda lad. So I think, you look at him and say he could do a job, but at the same time, again, as Bill said, he's a midfielder as well. So I think we need to get an actual right back in. And I was looking at UCD's Alex Dunn, who, like, UCD have had a bit of an upturn in form in the last couple of months. Now, an upturn in form for them is not losing every game, but still, he's come in, he's played 12 games, and they've started to do a bit better. And like, he just looks like a bit more of a player, if you get me. So he's come in there, he's done a good job. And obviously the obvious one, the elephant in the room would be if we could try and get Jimmy Brown back from Blackburn on loan next season. He's at Stockport at the moment, playing as a right centre back on a 3, and he's been absolutely unbelievable. But again, you're looking at it saying he's so wasted in League Two. It's actually unbelievable. I couldn't believe it actually when he went, and people were calling him a backup. And you're looking at it like Jimmy Brown he's easily one of the best right backs that's come through the league in the last 10 years, I'd say. And he's just his engine is probably the best. He's probably the fittest person I've ever seen in my life. Like, I've never seen anyone go out, play 120 minutes on a Friday, and then play on a after a pandemic, play 120 minutes on a Friday, and then go out on the Monday and play another 90 minutes, and still be the only one sprinting in the last 5 minutes. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, he's a player that I don't think there's anybody in the world that could not like James Brown as a football player. He's just absolutely brilliant. He's a hard-working player. He's always, he just seems like a really likable guy off the pitch as well. And like, there's obviously the I feel good element to it as well. People always try and throw that in anytime his name is mentioned. But I'd love to have Jimmy Brown back, but that's not really viable, I think. But Alex Dunn from UCD, I think, would be a great signer for us.
To be fair, I'm not gonna lie, I never heard of Alex Dunn, to be honest with you.
Played the last 12 games for UCD. He played against us a few weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, we didn't play UCD, have we?
It just goes to show you how much.
Oh, we did, yeah. That was a few months ago.
But no, I think like he's a good player. He's I've only seen him a couple of times when he's played against.
I've seen him Brighton.
Yeah, exactly. So keep an eye out for him. He's the right back there. He's a very he's a good player. He's solid, but I think he you look at what we did with Evan Weir this season coming in from UCD as well. Like, Evan Weir's gone from public enemy number 1 with Drogheda fans after the Sligo game earlier on the season to he's one of our favourite players now. And I think Alex Dunn could be much the same. Get him playing football with the the likes of Dane Massey, Gary Deegan, Keith Cowan, who can all kind of, help him learn a bit. And I think he'd do well if his development would do well if he signed for us. He's only 20 years old. Again, like, I'm pitching young players here because I'm trying to future-proof the club. So, I think Alex Dunn would be a good sign.
I was going to say, actually, for a right back, I don't know what stories are on the past, but Barry Cotter's come along well. That could have been some good for you there. Trying to get
Could have
him
been, yeah. No, he's turned into a decent little player, hasn't he, Barry Carter? Like, he's done well at that.
Less said about TikTok, so Jesus Christ.
I don't even look at him on TikTok, to be honest with you.
Don't laugh. Oh my god. Bill, do you want to come in with how you'd improve the club in the background? Think a bit more.
Yeah, so here, this is my grand pitch. So my pitch for Drogheda is Drogheda as a club, Drogheda the pathway to greater things. So you look at their kind of outgoing for the last few seasons. You have Luke McNally, who went to Pats, now at Burnley, Ola Lau to Chippenham, now Falkirk. You have Redmond at Pats, Daniel O'Reilly, Hamilton, Jimmy Byrne, as Jay just said, Adamusu who's gone to Pats, Killian Phillips, Crystal Palace. So the conveyor belt of talent coming out of Drogheda, and clearly the coaching structures and the system that they put in place is conducive to success, bringing players to the UK. So what my pitch for Dundalk or Drogheda would be, I'm not sure, did you see recently Daniel Lambert was speaking, I think it was on Twitter, I'm not sure it was in an interview, but again, I'm not a fan of both, but they do not play things right. And he said that allegedly they all pitched to the League of Ireland clubs that they should all come together and agree every League of Ireland player will go down as, would say, have a release clause that would say 120k or something, so that we stop getting ripped off for our players. But allegedly, one club in particular wasn't a fan of that, and they may be towards the top of the table. But my pitch for the Drogheda would be, is if they were to move full time, and again, I know it's an awful lot of talk about the moving full time and the cost involved in that, would be to give each one of their players. So you go pro, and I don't know how workings of the contracts would be, but you give a flat release clause every single player in the squad. So we'll say your 2023 batch, the first time you do it, every single player, no matter whether you expected them to be a squad player or first teamer, we'll say 100k release clause. So that means, like you say that hypothetically, that it would be able to attract and be better players that wouldn't go to Drogheda because they'll see, oh, it's 100k release clause. I perform well. That's a low release clause, and we'll sell them. So, like you say, that they get ripped for their players on it. But if you do that, like 100k 10 times would be $1 million. So, and why you do that is, as you gradually go through the years, so 2023, your 2023 batch of players, the next people you sign on, you might go 105k release clause or 110k release clause. As Drogheda build up their reputation of exporting players to the UK and abroad, they can gradually increase the release clause and basically strengthen their bargaining position and the money they get for these players. So it will never affect the players that are going to stay in Ireland, but it will give them a bartering position to attract players and then send players abroad. That's what I would do anyway.
Oh, I'm just gonna come in now. I'm no. Like, thing is, I just don't get it. Like, why, if you're trying to improve them, I know you're improving them financially, right? But like, it's not like they're gonna go out of the way and pay for players for the transfer fee.
But the point of the matter is, you'd be able to, first of all, able to attract players they might necessarily be able to attract, improving the squad. And as you progress throughout the years, you'll be able to have better players on higher release clauses, which have a greater effect on the team in the long term.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I get what you're saying, Bill, from a business standpoint. Having that kind of the ties to the UK and things like that. But for me personally, I'd be kind of looking at saying, no, fuck that, keep them here. Like 100k is not a low release clause in Ireland, by the way. It's not, like, when you think about it, Danny Mandroya went for 30 grand.
I was giving a hypothetical number, like, but whatever. Yeah.
But like, 30 grand is what Danny Mandrew went for. You look at it, I think James Brown went for free, even though he was under 20, even though he's 23 and under. Blackburn offered a friendly as a payment. Like, who the fuck wants to go see Blackburn play football? Apart from Blackburn fans in Ewood Park or visiting away fans. Like, Blackburn approached us to say, yeah, we're taking James Brown on a free. And we said, how about like some sort of compensation? And they said, we'll play. We might play as in a friendly next pre-season. Like, who cares if we're playing Blackburn? Blackburn Rovers, they're hardly fucking Liverpool or Man United or Celtic. Like, you're not going to sell out any grounds for Blackburn coming to town. Like, let's be honest here. But yeah, like, I just feel as though, for me personally, I don't like the idea of signing players with a view to sell them to England. I don't see how the league can improve doing that. For me, like, the league is already in dire needs of keeping the players that we have rather than seeing them leave for money, because we've seen over the years that selling players for money doesn't work in this league, because the money just goes to nothing. It just goes on fucking flare fines and shit like that. So for me, I'd be looking more at how do we keep these players? How do we keep them here rather than how do we sell them for more money? What do you think, Jack?
I think in the short, yeah, go on, Jack.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think it's a bit shite, man. Like, if you look at it, like, yeah, I understand your point of like selling them on for a profit, right? Fair enough. But like, how's that gonna help anything in the long run? Like, yeah, Drogheda could have 8 million sitting there, man, but they're not gonna go out and fucking sign the wonder kid from Man City, like.
If you can improve the finances in general by year, you will be able to spend more on your players, and the on pitch product will improve. Like, in the short term, shortism is great, but like long term, you will, if you do this correctly, you will improve the quality of the team on the pitch. And we can say we want to keep our talent and players in Ireland, and yes, of course we do, realistically. But until there's an active professional league in the country, and until we're financed accordingly, whether that's through TV deals or whatever, the players are going to dream about playing abroad in the UK and play professional, because we simply can't offer it in this country unless you're playing with maybe Shamrock Rovers. And that's unfortunate, but it's the hardcore facts of the matter. Like,
half the league professionals. The teams aren't professionals, but Drogheda, UCD.
I think the only teams that are fully professional in the league at the moment are us and UCD.
Full time.
UCD are pretty much they're essentially professional. UCD are essentially a professional club because they have players who are in college in the college, and they do the training based on their college schedule, but they're training every day. They're doing full-time training. Most clubs are doing full-time training sessions, and they are paying full. Like, you look at it, Damien Duff talking shite last week saying the Shells are a full-time team and a part-time budget. Like, they're on nearly 10 times what Trotter are on, apparently. That's a part-time budget. Like, what are you talking about? He's just talking pure hoop.
Part-time budget Damien Duff is $5,000 a week.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yes.
That's all he knows. But anyways, my point, like, what's that going to help? Like, say for talk's sake, Drogheda have a race clause every player in the squad now, say €25,000, right? Because realistically, you're not going to get £100 for anything.
Yeah.
So, say for talk's sake, you have Evan Weir gets taken by Bolton Wanderers, 25 grand a month, that's been gone, right? You're down a left back, but you're 25 grand up. You're not going to be able to sign the left back now. That's literally just money just sitting there, and you're less of a player. Like, and that could just keep on happening. Any decent player just gone, and you might have to have the players to replace him in the country. Like, so imagine if that was the case a few years ago with us, or even with Rovers. Imagine Andy Lyons with $100 release clause.
Yeah, then you're not.
He wouldn't gone after the third game.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Rovers can turn down these fees. They're operating on a different financial mind frame than the rest of the league, and we're saying that most of these teams are training like professionals, but the contracts they're offering, if they were so large, you wouldn't have these players moving to the likes of League Two and Scotland. But the purely financial difference in moving to those leagues, because if there wasn't, you're right that they would move because the standard isn't much better. But that's the system that's in place at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, but like I just don't understand the whole thing. Like say for example, you have 100 grand on every player and you lose 8 players. That's 800 grand to club. But realistically, Drogheda aren't going to be able to go out. Well, they could, but like they're not going to go out and say if they lose, Evan Way or book them off and offer 250,000 quid for
Also,
our league.
there's more than one way to invest your money too. Like
Yeah,
Yeah, but the prime, the prime, product of a senior football club is the men's senior team, and like I know that sounds sexist and it sounds crass or whatever, but it is what it is. You look at any professional football club in the world, if they have a men's and a women's team, they advertise the men's team first and foremost, and then the women's team is the second or the third or the fourth after the 21s or the 23s or the 19s. So you look at it the way Drogheda are going at the moment. They're pushing for a women's team. I think we have a 17s team starting this year. But it's first and foremost, the club needs to get things right on the pitch with the senior men's team before we can start looking at investing in another team. Before we can start looking at investing 25 grand that we get from selling a player's release clause. We need to get the product on the pitch has to be right. Now, this is the debate that I had with Daniel McDonnell on Twitter a few months ago, which was I'd rather see the product right on the pitch rather than seeing the stands in the background on camera. Like if I'm watching a game, like we've all seen it, you can see the standard of football. It looks great when there's a lovely stand in behind the players and they're playing, and it looks fantastic having this, that, and the other there. But at the end of the day, you want the game to be good. You don't want to be going like the main product in football is the fans that are in attendance and the ground itself, like the experience on the day and what's going on the pitch. Like, yeah, we banter each other, like, United Park, Game Park isn't up to standard, Oriel Park isn't up to standard, Talca Park, Dalymount Park, whatever, they're not up to standard. But at the end of the day, we still go because we're there to see the football, or we're there to be with our mates, we're there to be doing, like, I'm not going to head in the Game Park on Friday to watch Drogheda Pats to sit there and have a fucking barbecue on the side of the pitch. I'm going to watch my team play, feel the atmosphere, enjoy the atmosphere. Like I go to these games on my own most of the time because I'll sit there, I'll listen to the fans, I'll hear the chants. I don't have my phone out. I'll be just there enjoying the atmosphere, enjoying things that happen, and maybe sticking out a viral tweet every now and then. That's about it. I don't go to look at how beautiful.
Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll let that go now. Fuck me, I wish that never happened.
Shock and carry on. But no, I don't go to games to, look behind me and think, oh, geez, you know what? This stand is lovely, isn't it? Like, this is a really nice. This is a nice ground that I'm in. Like, how often did I go to Cavan League back in the day just to go to games? Because I just enjoy going to football matches and watching games. I'm not going to see a lovely high-tech Spurs type stadium. That's what I don't like. I don't understand this debate of, oh, well, we have to get the grounds right before we can start looking at the product on the pitch. No, the product on the pitch will see people come, which will then see investment. It's not the grounds that need investing in first. It's the squads, it's the players, it's the development of young players. It's the bringing young players into the squad that are actually good at football, and that's what we need. It's not this case of let's invest in the ground and let's sell our best players to England for fuck all money so that we can start investing in I don't know, a second burger van behind the goal. I don't care about that. Let's start investing in the product. The product is on the pitch, not in the stand. That's my opinion.
Jack, do you want to come in there?
I thought you'd be coming in, to be fair. No, I agree with what Dave's saying. Like, you'd rather be going. Like, I know, Bill, you went to 3 games this year, so look.
I went to more than 3 games this year.
You went to Turner Cross, and Turner Cross is a lovely ground, but like
I don't count how many games I've been to. Though.
I'm taking this man. But anyways, look,
you're not. Look, it's okay.
I've been to Arsenal. I've been to Tala, good stadium, obviously. Council funded. Not everyone has a safe. Dublin Council funded Brandon Stadium or New Santa Maria. Like that Lake County Council is a joke. They came over to God and no one goes to. than the Docker Drogheda, where like there's actually a passionate fan. But like even look at fucking. I know UCD, not UCD, Finn Hartley and stuff, but at the end of the day, like the amount of shitholes I've been to this year, including Oriel, including every stadium apart from really Rovers, like Brandywell's alright, but like you're not going there to have a talk. Yeah, it's nice to see the stadium, whatever. But like at the end of the day, all that matters is if the pitch is improved, if the players and the standards improving, who needs a good stadium? Like look how many teams. Look, Rovers are in Europe now Thursday. They've broken into Europe. We broke into Europe twice. So have Rovers. The teams are progressively getting further. That's all that matters really. Like on the pitch. I know, yeah, it'd be great off the pitch as well, but you have to get the on the pitch right first. Like you want every team in this country fully professional. You want every team in Europe to at least try to push for group stages. Like I saw today, 34 nations have been in the Champions League group stages out of 52 countries in Europe.
Yeah.
54 Confederate. We've been nowhere. Closest was a playoff in 2016. Like, and that'll probably, no offense, anyway, I can't see anyone beating that for a good while.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like, but Rovers were in the playoff as well in 2011, weren't
they? Were they?
Did they not get to the playoff? Was that not the Partizan game got them into the playoff?
No, they got a bye, I think, didn't they? From the, they might. They
I
might
don't
go
know.
to the third round, did it?
I'm not sure. I think they anyway, but it makes no odds. Look, for me personally, it's the product on the pitch is number one, and then you start to look at the off the pitch. This is what I don't understand about, obviously, we see the debates going on over in England with the whole Man United thing, the Glazers and things, and Gary Neville saying that they haven't put a penny into the stadium. Who gives a fuck about the stadium? Like, get your shit right on the pitch first. Like, what are we talking about? Old Trafford needs to be the best in class. No, get what's on the pitch right, and then everything else will fall into place. So it's the exact same in every standard of football. Like, if you start playing good football and seeing the standard of players increasing, then you'll see more people coming in, which will then see more sponsorship opportunity, which will then see more investment into the club, which will then give you the option to go off and build better grounds and better stadiums and better this, that, and the other. The product on the pitch has to be number one. We can't improve on anything else in the league until we've seen the product on the pitch improve. And that's just for me. Like, you look at it over the years, the stadiums have never improved because there's no money there to improve them, because there's no investment in the teams on the pitch. Like, when I'll give you on the topic of Drogheda, while we're talking about them, and I know we're kind of running out of time here and things. I have one more player to pitch after this, but in 2012, Drogheda qualified for Europe. We finished second in the league. We won the EA Sports Cup, and we got into the Europa League. Right, we played Malmo in the Europa League. We drew 0-0 in the home leg, and we lost 2-0 in the second leg. The club got a fair bit of money out of that. I think it would have been a good bit. And then that year was also the year that I think PSG and Chelsea were done for financial fair play, which meant every club that was involved in Europe that season got a chunk of money from the fine. So Drogheda came out with a fair bit of money in there. But we still haven't seen, like, that was the reason why Mick Cook left in 2013, was because he wanted that money to be invested in a squad, whereas the board at the time wanted the money to be invested in a new ground. Since then, we've been relegated twice, promoted twice. So, the investment off the pitch, I'd say we probably got about 350 grand out of that. The investment off the pitch went nowhere, but the investment on the pitch didn't go anywhere either, because they wouldn't give the money that side, which is why Mick Cook left. So you're looking at it saying the product on the pitch at the time was getting us into Europe. It was getting us to 3 cup finals in one season, and it was, winning us in the EA Sports Cup, and we were doing well. We were finishing high in the league. We were finishing, and then the investment didn't come onto the pitch, and then we ended up getting relegated 2-3 years later. So the investment needs to go on the pitch first, and then the rest will fall in. That's just the way I look at it. From being a Drogheda fan for the last 15 years, and how we've fucked things up with the investment in the past and things like that.
Look,
What you think?
this be my final pitch before you give your final player and we close the episode.
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel
Let's
bad,
not get our
No, go ahead,
Let's not get
Bill.
let's not get our words crossed here. And look, I'll probably call the dirty capitalist for this idea, for my idea here. But and look, I can call worse things, to be honest. But look, the product on the pitch has to take precedent. Nobody's saying otherwise. But it doesn't have to be the only thing. We talk about these things, and they aren't mutually exclusive. Product on the pitch, and we say, if you even think about it hypothetically, like we say, investor of money on the actual pitch, like I said, that would help things matter too. But like some of these players are leaving on free and peanuts anyway. So wouldn't it be better to get a fee rather than nothing? If it comes down to that at the end of the day, and you could get 25 grand for your player, or you get nothing. Like
Absolutely, but I'd rather keep them.
If we can't keep the players, because it's a separate issue, which I think go way beyond what we can do here. Why don't you get a fee while you can and fee? So like, and then for example, if you improve your finances 50%, 40% of that can go on your playing budget, and we say 10% goes somewhere else like the academy, which again affects the players coming through, and thus long term it will affect the product on the pitch. So I think we're looking at this too simply if we're going to say that it's on the pitch, because yes, it's on the pitch, but there's an awful lot of competing factors that help on the pitch too. And if you're given an opportunity for 25k or nothing, I'm taking 25k every day of the week for a player. That's all I'm saying. You can give your final player pitch and we'll sign off.
Yeah. No. Look, I have to point out that I do agree. Like, you'd rather lose 25 grand than nothing, but at the same time, I'd rather have that player for an extra 6 months than sell him for 25 grand. Like,
I'm not going to see that 25 grand, so I don't know.
You'd rather see the players on the pitch. That's just the way I look at it. But so anyway, the last player that I'm looking at, centre half, Conor Keeley from Ballymena, up the north. I'm sure he's known around the league already. He played for Cabinteely and Shelburne. He's 24 years old. Scored 7 goals in 33 games for Ballymena. He spent 4 years at Cabinteely. Had a great partnership with Jack Chute, who was at Drogheda until last season. And I think we're looking at it from a point of view of, we have our centre halves at the moment are Andrew Quinn, who isn't going anywhere. Absolutely love him, brilliant player. Again, only a young fella. Then there's Keith Cowan, who he's 36, 37, and Dane Massey, who's well past it as well. Look, there's still viable options. They're still very good players. But they're, like, again, similar to the Deegan thing earlier on, they're coming to the end of their career. It would be good to get a young centre half in with them where they can work with them and help improve them. And I think Conor Keeley has a great bit of experience about him. He's an absolute rock. Like, I've seen this kid play numerous times down the years for Cabinteely and for Shells back in the day, and I've heard great things about how he's getting on up in Ballymena. But I think he'd be the ideal candidate to come in. I'd love to see him at Drogheda. Like I've said it since he was at Cabinteely. Him and Jack Chute were two players that I looked at. And the club listened to me with Jack Chute. I just think Conor Keeley is a player that we need to look at as an option to bring in for next season. He's absolutely brilliant. He's a Dublin lad as well, so Drogheda wouldn't be much of a travel for him. But again, it's just looking at how much, like, what are you looking at in terms of wages, in terms of getting him to leave the north, come down and play for us. But I think he'd be a great option for us.
Yeah, I heard of him. I actually did hear of him. I'm not even going to bullshit. I did hear of him before with Shelburne, I think. But yeah, like, obviously you know more about Drogheda than me. I thought, Keith Cowan, although he is about 45, he was very good against us the times we played against him. Last time anyway.
Yeah, no, he has been very good for us this season. Like, and I know he gets a bit of shit from some fans, but I just think he's a player that he's kind of struggling. Keith Cowan, he's getting his age here now. Like, when you look at it, he's 37 at the moment. He's played 20 games this season. He's an absolute rock, but again, as I say, 37 years old. Dane Massey's 34. You're looking at it saying, who's going to come in? We need a replacement for them. We've got Andrew Quinn there, who's going to be a mainstay of Phil for the next few years. He's 20. but you do need someone in beside Andrew Quinn because he can be a bit not windy, but he's more of a ball playing centre half rather than a destroyer. And I think Conor Keeley is a bit of both, but he's more of that kind of, you know, just the brute that can just win everything and just clear everything. He's a clearance merchant, and as I say, 7 goals in 33 games. He can pitch in with a goal here and there as well.
Yeah, well, just coming to the end of it, Dave, I just a question. Like, say if the draw, there is talk of this new stadium for the past 6, 7 years. We've got like, oh well, not that long, 5 or 3 years. Would you be against the moving at United Park? Can't really expand to, can't it?
No, not at all. I think it's a move that I've never understood why people get so sentimental about a football ground either. You know, I know I've said, you know, I've been giving out about the, you know, oh, we need to improve the ground before we improve things. But I've never understood, like, see when Arsenal left Highbury and things like that, and everyone got all emotional. For me, if the ground is out of date and you have the option to do it and it doesn't affect how things work on the pitch, do it. Because it's a no-brainer. If you can get a more modern ground, a cleaner ground, a new ground where you can kind of have, you know, you look at the way they were building it for the new Daily Mount, where they were saying we were going to have new, you know, amenities there and things like that, new shops that people could go to, like a shopping centre, and they were looking at that for Drogheda as well. It just, I just think it's a no-brainer if we can get it over the line and it doesn't affect the club's finances in terms of, you know, signing players. I think it's something that's long overdue. The club is in dire need of a new ground, but we do need to focus on what's on the pitch first. That's the way I'd look at it. It's get the pitch right, and then if the opportunity to leave the ground comes along and go to a new pitch, new stadium, I'd be all for it. As long as it's accessible for people from Drogheda. Because I think the biggest issue with the likes of like Longford or Athlone or you know, things like that, like the ground is a bit outside the town where it's just not like it. I remember before I drove, I was looking at going to Longford away, and it's just impossible to get there if you're in work on a Friday afternoon because you're trying to get out to Longford from Dublin, and it's just near on impossible. Because
you know what could be a good idea for that? Sorry.
Yeah.
I was over in Ireland watching a test game versus Feyenoord, first game of the season, and I know it's obviously different, 100 miles better or whatever, like clear or out of it readily well. But they ran shuttle buses from the like train station and the bus station out to the stadium, which would be it probably would be about 4 or 5 kilometers out from the city, I'd say.
Yeah, they do that in Germany as well with a lot of grounds.
Yeah, like say if Drogheda did move to Dunleer, I know it's a bit. Well, Dunleer wouldn't even be too far from Drogheda. It's about 20 minutes on the dog. So it'd probably be about 15 commutes.
Yeah, maybe.
Like you could get a shuttle bus out that road, no bother. But all season coolers get on for free alongside the season ticket, and there you go, free transport for every game.
Again, you're looking at it saying like, you know, all the Drogheda fans go to Foley's or Mother Hughes before the game. It's a short walk to the ground. It kind of takes away from the atmosphere. It takes away from the you know, the local businesses as well. It kind of distances you from the local businesses like the likes of your Foley's or your or your Mother Hughes and the likes of, like, you know, you're looking at the other places around, like you're taking away from them as well, because people aren't going to be staying in there for a couple of points before the game and things. So it's something that, you know, you have to be careful about those kinds of things, because that could come back and bite you in the arse as well.
Yeah, well, unless Bill has anything else to say, I think, or any of anything else to say, I think we might have to just end it here because we're under a bit of time pressure tonight, anyways. So is that everything that needs to be said, yeah?
Yeah, that's all I had. Anyway, Bill, what about yourself?
No, that's all I have to have. Have to say that.
Capitalism for the. Yeah, just before the episode ends, just don't forget to follow the Twitter page at the Peilcast if needs be, and leave a rating on Spotify. I don't have an app now, but leave a rating on Spotify. It does help. Just push it out towards people on our Apple Podcasts and all of that shit. And yeah, and there's some big news coming out of that FB page.
Yeah, keep an eye on that. Actually, yeah, we've big news coming.
It'll be out before it comes out probably, but
go have a look at what the news was, lads.
Yeah,
it's
and also
major news.
And also, if you stayed this long, right, I want you, right, to DM the page and say Bill Gain is a fraud, just so we listen to the end, right? Right, good luck.
God.
Good luck.
Go on, cheers, lads.